Okay. I'm excited. Super nervous. Thanks. But excited. It's gonna be good. This is Art Snack Volume 2. And am I live? I'm live. Nobody's watching. That's fine. I'm gonna paint anyway. I have my music. I have my coffee. I'm gonna show you what we did in Art Snack Volume 1 really quickly. So this is the second one that we did today, and this is the first one of the two paintings that we did in 1 hour. Hey, we have a person who has joined the chat, and that is Vol2 L-9. Hey, so there's one person here and Avais. Let's make something new. So these were the first paintings, and now this palette is honestly a mess, but I'm just gonna trust me a little bit. I'm just gonna try to make it work. I don't know what it is, but I'll make something. I think I'll probably like flip this around so that the painting underneath doesn't affect me too much. I'm gonna keep those, so I'm gonna show them a little bit later once more to show where we have come from. So I'm just making a really quick selection, copy pasting it, and then doing like a quick reset of everything that I have thus far. I think I could also use light and blend mode, and then just try to find some other textures. Because I have already made that whole painting already, why not just benefit a little bit from that, all of that texture that I have made. I always recommend stealing your own stuff. It's super handy, and you have so many like handmade textures in your previous paintings. It's like, why not just reuse all of that, honestly. This is huge, so what I'm gonna do is limit myself this small area. First, and I'm just gonna do like a tiny painting first, and then scale that up. I know that for stream purposes it might not be super satisfying, but I really recommend doing this for the beginning phase of pretty much any painting. You just get so much better at seeing the composition and what you have on screen if you just take away the problem of scale and trying to create huge brushstrokes and doing whole athletic thing out of your painting instead of just starting and slapping in something. Did I close my Discord already? Yes. I have to check that because sometimes if the Discord is open, the sound can start looping. So glad you're streaming at this time. Yes, because I don't have concept art class today. The students are doing something completely different without me. I did leave them plenty of homework, so hopefully they are doing those. I don't know. We'll see. But I have few more days with the concept art students, and I don't know. I wish that the course was a lot longer. This year it's super short, and it has been so intense. I sometimes feel bad for the students that like we have so many assignments in such a short amount of time. It's really like an art camp for everybody involved that they are painting so hard. But any way that I think about it, I think it's still better to give them all the tools and knowledge that I know, and maybe have them dislike me a little bit for making them work so hard, instead of just like taking the easy way out and doing an easy course, because it would be easier to teach that way if I just had few assignments for this time that has been allowed for me. But I don't know, I'd rather be useful, and I'd rather have this time to be useful for the students as well. Like, some assignments are ones where you really do need time, so I've had to cut few assignments, but the ones that I have given them, I honestly feel like the limited time, it just focuses them better, because I haven't had any of the usual things that I have to give feedback on, like students getting stuck on details, and they are really focused on design, which is the whole point of this course. So I think it's going pretty well, despite being probably really hard for the students. So what we are doing today is art snacks. So I'm doing time boxed 1 hour paintings, and that means that I just need to get an idea in 1 hour, and then I'm just gonna do it as well as I can in that time. That's all. And the reason why this exercise exists at all is because I think during this time of the year, people are kind of starting to somewhat give up on their art goals, because it's all getting a little bit too much. And I think art goals usually don't pay any attention to the relationship that you need to have with your creativity, because what's the point of doing all this work anyway if you don't like it? So for that reason, it's much easier to say that, like, just make something and don't worry about the outcome, just do it anyway. But when you have a time limit, it's much easier to give yourself that kind of permission to enjoy the process, rather than knowing that this is going to be on my Instagram, this is going to be on my social media feed, and I have made this commitment to make X amount of posts on my social media to grow my freelance business, or whatever your art goals are. It's really hard to get your mind out of that mode of thinking. But when you have a time limit, it's much easier to just let yourself work within those limits. Just have fun with colors. And I recommend having like some brush that you can blend colors easily with. Or in this case, I'm using the membership brush, one of the few brushes that is in the downloads. For members this month, it's downloadable until the end of January, and this is pastel pencil. So this is like a pencil brush that has all of this nice gritty texture. I want to show this painting because, like, here, if we zoom in, we can see the way that these colors are kind of like built on top of each other. So there are multiple layers, just like me enjoying the scribbling aspect of painting, and that way the colors kind of benefit from all of these multiple different layers. But that's just one way of doing it. You could also have a brush that blends the color on canvas, and I would recommend for this 1 hour thing to use just one layer if you at all can. I mean, I'm probably going to also maybe use more layers, I don't know. But I'm just saying that using just one layer might be faster than you think. We often add more layers because we think that that's the faster way to work, but often that doesn't end up being the case. Here I'm playing just with different kind of line rhythms. I honestly don't know where that is going. It's really hard to think of out loud when I'm trying to find an idea for a painting. I spent a lot of time today just thinking on the couch that should I play Monster Hunter or do another art snack session, and I thought like I don't want to plan. I might want to paint, but I don't want to plan. I think that's taking away the entire fun for the whole thing. For the previous session, I had somewhat of a plan on what I'm doing, so these ones are just going to be basically jumping out of the plane without a plan, and I'm gonna find a way to make this stuff work somehow, hopefully, or not. Honestly, that's also an option. I think it's hard for me to say that you need to take these chances and like put yourself under these sort of time limits and enjoy the process if I'm not like showing that in practice and doing it myself. So I think it's important to show that everybody takes a risk when they do this stuff, and that's part of the fun. It's not really about making good or bad painting, it's just showing up and telling your creative brain that like, I'm here. If you have an idea, now would be a good time to chime in and have some input on what we should be making here, because I'm not gonna be painting all day. This is the moment. So if you have some kind of a great idea, please do not stay quiet. I think the colors are kind of interesting. So. Mokha is saying, "Hi Mikko, I bought your course on Gumroad, the art course. But on Gumroad, it mentioned about more content somewhere. Something about 5 hours of more content. My question is that, do I have access to it?" Yes. So my art course on Gumroad has now a free expansion called Building on Fundamentals. And for that, I recommend doing the Sky course first, and then building on fundamentals. You don't need to do anything to access it. Just by purchasing the art course, you already have access to the expansion as well. That's completely free to everybody who has bought the art course. And you just go into your Gumroad library and it's already there. I wish that I could give you like direct path on like in which where do you need to click when you open your product there, but there's not that much stuff. The folder structure is really simple on Gumroad, so you should find it just by looking. But now that I'm painting here, I can't give you that direct route. But just by looking in that your product folder, you will see it. There's no way you would not have it. It's not possible. So you already have access to it. But like I said, I recommend that you do the master sky part first, because it's not just about painting sky. I'm using sky as a subject to illustrate all the other composition points, and all of those are being used in the building on fundamentals. That is what the name is about. So in building on fundamentals, the project is much more complex, and there are multiple different objects and subjects where that same checklist and all of those techniques are being used. And all of the techniques that are more advanced, they are shown in depth, but I am using that knowledge that you have already done the previous part of the art course for that. Okay, 17 minutes. It's not that bad, but I still need a little bit of, I don't want to say vibrancy, but light and saturation to highlight some elements here. I just got a text message that I cannot read out loud. It's not safe for anything. Oops, found it. I didn't see that there was a separate folder. Thank you. Yes, I'm so glad that you found it. I felt so bad that I couldn't like give the instructions on where it is. But Gumroad file system is really simple to use. It's just basically like folders. I really like the build-up of these textures. When you're using these sort of cold colors, one approach that I didn't use here, but I recommend trying if you feel like trying something new, is that you can always start from really warm and saturated colors and then paint on top of that. That can be a way to do an illustration so that you have those sort of saturated warm tones kind of peeking through. As I have all of this texture here, you would see it peeking through everything. But I started on my older painting, so some of that color is here as well. Alina is saying, "Hi Mikko, this might be a bit random, but I just wanted to thank you for your content. I struggle with anxiety, but your videos really help me feel calmer while commuting home on public transport." Great. It's weird because I sometimes have so much anxiety about just painting myself, but I'm glad to hear that I have that effect on somebody. I was just thinking about the kind of videos I've been making recently and the kind of videos that I want to make. I don't like that house, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. Clear. So the thing that I've been thinking is that when I make these super edited, information-packed, super dense videos, I don't know if that's the only thing that I want to be doing. If I think about the reasons why I started doing YouTube, I wanted to do the kind of content that I liked watching when I wasn't a YouTuber. Some artists working on their own project and talking about their kind of design process or different like problem-solving situations as an artist, as a way to learn and understand that other people are going through the same things at the same time. I think those elements are in my videos, but sometimes I feel like the way that I edit my videos, like I'm so worried about losing the attention of somebody that there's a lot of this retention editing and very fast cuts and effects, which are honestly, they are fun to do, but they also take a whole lot of time. And if I'm thinking about the original reason why I'm here in the first place, I don't think it's fulfilling that purpose currently. I don't know if there's an audience for that on my channel, but personally when I'm watching painting videos, I just don't need stuff to change on the screen all the time. And there's one YouTuber that I absolutely love, and her videos, her art videos are so like visually striking. They're like incredibly beautiful. But I've noticed that I don't watch them anymore when I'm making art because I feel like I'm wasting all of the kind of like visual stuff if I'm not staring at the screen constantly. I just think that like maybe that's not the type of art videos that I should be focusing on that much. It's really difficult because often it does seem like the videos where there is the most editing and lots of effects and different like B-roll and that stuff, that they do well because people do like that sort of fast-paced stuff. But am I letting the algorithm kind of tell me what to make here? It's kind of hard to tell. It's not necessarily like a good or bad thing, it's just something that I should probably make with like intent, not just to let the platform or even the audience to just like guide me to doing what I'm doing, but to just pause for a second every now and then and wonder that, like, is this going to the direction that I want to keep doing? Or is it taking away from my initial mission on making art more enjoyable and learning art more just approachable, especially to people who have tried at some point and then given up, and like I wanna give those people like a easy reason to come back to making art and reconnecting with their creative goals and just enjoying it. Because I think there are plenty of art channels that already do the fast-paced information bombardment, and it's kind of the opposite in some sense. I don't know. Okay, I still have half an hour. I think there's this like interesting strangeness about this that I really like. So I'm gonna keep working on that strangeness more. I bet it's nice to have you as a teacher, even if it means they get to suffer a bit, lol. Kimsune is saying. I don't know. I would ask that of my students, but they would probably just say something that I'm torturing them and I'm being evil. Which, again, is understandable. I think I kind of deserve that. I think when you're an overworked student, it's hard to appreciate the fact that the teacher is doing these things for your benefit sometimes. I know that when you're tired and stressed that can I do all of my homework in time? Is he going to fail me from this class if I don't get all of the assignments done? All of that stuff. I know that that can be stressful. I can honestly also say that I would do every one of their homework. I mean, whenever I give them homework, I'm always just like, oh, I wish that I could do this course with you. I just did one of the assignments on membership side. I did this building blocks of composition art talk, and that is from my concept art class. Like, that is one of the lectures that I turned into video format. And it also has the exact same assignment for that whole composition talk. Oh, Miaxi is saying that they've been following me for 5 years. That's a long time. And I'm so glad to hear that my art has like found somebody out there. I still remember so clearly when I was working full-time as a concept artist that I just felt this like real loneliness because I was making all this art and nobody knew who I was or where I was, and I just, it might sound selfish, but I just had this idea that like I want people to know that I exist. So like meeting anybody who knows me from my art, it's not just about like, oh, I feel almost like famous that somebody out there acknowledges that I exist, but it's really that I now have people that know that I exist. It was a huge reason why I got like so depressed in the first place. It's just, I just felt like my existence didn't seem, the loneliness was like so bad because of all of those reasons. It's not about being famous or being liked, it's just other people to acknowledge that you exist. And I think it's not just like me being able to publish my own artwork online. It's a big reason about that is also that now I can create art that clearly expresses who I am and my own values as a human being. When you're working for a big company, like you all just wanna basically survive. And there's always this huge pressure, and there's never any like credit or thanks for like doing your work well. The size of anything doesn't make any sense in this, but I'm just gonna go with it. I think it's interesting. much time do I have? Not that much. A little over 20 minutes. I'm so excited to finish the art course, Mocha is saying. I have struggled a lot with composition. My paintings lack variety of color and lack the feeling of movement. That's really cool to hear. In the art course, I recommend watching, like you don't have to watch through the entire thing, but there is a video where I show the blocking phase, like that I went through before I have the blocking done, and I included that process video just because, like, even though I've been doing that subject for years and years, and I dare to say that I am pretty like proficient at doing that one subject pretty well, but even still I'm doing the whole blocking 3 times from scratch before I find the one that works, that I continue on in that first project in the art course. And I wanted to show that so that people understand that there is this tolerance for repetition. I think that's a big thing between artists who have been doing this for some time and then beginners. That for a beginner, an art snack session like this could be just 15 minutes or 30 minutes. An hour might seem like the whole painting should be completely done and finished, like I don't wanna spend any more time even on finished pieces than 1 hour. That's quite enough, thank you. But an artist who has been working for some time, they have this different level of tolerance for deleting things that already are done in the painting and starting from zero again with elements that are not working. Because that kind of time investment doesn't matter, like we don't expect the art to entertain us in the same way. Like we know that we bear the responsibility of doing the work before the art gets to that level where we and everybody else can enjoy it. And if it's not there yet, then that's a solvable issue. It doesn't mean that the painting is bad or should be thrown to the garbage. It's just a matter of like persistence. And it's more than just working until it's done. It's about being able to communicate to yourself the elements of composition, what makes it work or what makes it not work at the moment. Because it's only through that kind of communication and being able to break down the composition that you can fix those situations. So of course it's gonna be frustrating before you get there. Also, a lot of beginners don't understand that composition is the most important thing of the whole painting process. They wanna get to the fancy technical tricks as quickly as possible, but they don't mean anything if they are not used in the right places. And they never solve composition issues. every time that I'm happy with the composition elements here, I'm dropping everything back into one layer again so that I can keep making progress, because I have only about 15 minutes before I move on to the next art snack. Liz Art is saying, making art can be a solitary experience. It's not often you get to collaborate unless you work together to produce something. That is why I gave up coding to work on projects, to be with people. I think that's understandable. I understand that. And I feel like making art is not lonely when I get to make the kind of art that I feel like truly passionate about, and that helps me communicate something to other people. That art can be the vessel of that message. And as corny as this might sound, it's this YouTube channel, and it's my social media channels like Instagram and Blue Sky, where I'm able to talk with people. And honestly, like the Discord, where I'm talking with the members of this channel, like that's pretty much my entire social circle. Those are the people that I am talking with. And it's always about like art or art-related things often. But I think it's only through this work that I have been doing here that I've been able to find kind of like-minded people, and that would have never happened if I didn't kind of show my art to other people and make the kind of art that I want to make. Like, that would have never happened otherwise. I didn't even know that those people exist out there. this is one of those things that like is so out there and probably scary, that if this was a normal painting where I didn't have the time limit, I don't know if I would have the courage to try something this crazy. It's just the time limit that is allowing me to do those sort of like wild leaps and doing something new. Okay, I have a few more minutes. What do I want to be spending that time on? Something important. Hopefully. Like cypress leaves. Like my happy place. I don't do a lot of cold paintings, but I have to say that I'm kind of happy that this happened. Little Ace, continuing. Now I'm happy to work on my own art and see what comes of it. I am semi-retired, so I enjoy the fruits of my labors, and they were arduous. I really enjoy watching your processes. I let it sink in. Thank you. Yaxi is saying, lately I've been really unhappy. I have no other artists in the family, and since you have inspired me the most, I wanted to ask you, sorry for bothering, ask me what is the question? Oh, you lack the skills and your parents want you to become a doctor. Art is something that you don't have to dedicate your entire life to enjoy, or even to figure out if it could be something that leads into like work or something more for you. Art is one of those things that you can really just have as part of your life, no matter what you do. Kind of like any other like hobby, like running. There are people who are lawyers and doctors and garbage truck drivers and chefs that are amazing at running, that could easily enter competitions with their running skills. And it's a skill that they have completely developed on their own time. Almost like art is, or running is, this secret thing that they do when nobody is watching. That is absolutely possible with art as well. Like, you can have art be your thing that you keep to yourself. And if at some point it seems like this could actually be a job for me, like I am now good enough that people want to hire me and I could sustain a business with the amount of income that I'm making. Maybe not the same as the job that you have trained for, but then it's worth considering that there's also a cost of time. Like, what do you want to spend your time in this life doing? And you should be the only one making those choices, not somebody else for you. But I don't think art is one of these like all or nothing things that like you have to go all in and like go into some like insanely expensive art school and just entirely throw your life into this one thing. It can be combined in a reasonable way so that you can be a financially responsible person that is studying art at the same time without completely blowing up your life. I know that it's not sexy on YouTube to be reasonable, but I don't recommend that kind of hustle culture. I don't think it's a long-term plan to be happy. There are a few shapes here that don't quite work on the top right corner over here, and I just want to fix them before we move on to the next one. But overall, don't you think that this has like a very unique, interesting mood? I think so. Minutes. I don't know if these look just like lines to you, but in my mind, these are like patches of flowers. There was so much panic in the beginning of this painting, but now I feel like I have kind of gotten over it. If I'm being completely honest, I felt like, oh my god, I'm failing so hard here. It's strange, like for me, like it would probably take a while to break down what this composition is about, but just when I look at this, it just feels right. And I'm just gonna trust that that feeling is what I have from this. And I didn't have that before. So that must mean that something went right. Just love those textures. Okay. I'm gonna use this time to read the chat, enjoy the coffee, and then get ready for snack number 2. I'm gonna quickly show once more that in the first volume of these art snacks, this was the first hour this morning, and this was the second one. Now this is the third hour, and the next one is gonna start in 30 seconds. By the way, if you wanna steal my palettes, go ahead. I'm gonna leave it here. Daniel is saying about the need to be seen that I think it's just our human need for connection and healthy validation, which is so scarcely met, it seems. I think especially if you're a creative person working in a company, like it's really easy to get lost in that machine. Even now my mother is not interested in my art. Oh, that's terrible to hear. Please lay art. I think you should always be your own biggest cheerleader when it comes to art. That's also something that I have learned from running once more. So I'm duplicating this and then adding a little bit of this like blue all over. Okay, this is a very precise process. We have now entered the art snack number 2. I think I'm gonna go back to earthy pastels. For all the members, you can get these palettes as Procreate palettes just by downloading them from the monthly downloads. So don't waste your time making palettes based on a screenshot here, as you can just like drop it into your iPad. Okay, I'm gonna grab this and then start working from here somehow. I'm gonna do one of those thumbnail thingies here as well. Leslie is saying it's disappointing, but there are others who are more encouraging. I think with art, it's important to kind of gather a support group around you, and this might not just be art people. Like sometimes we artists, we can be terrible to each other, honestly. Like especially if you're a student, it's not that uncommon that the people around you are basically like competing with you all the time. I see that all the time in school. So be very careful in gathering your own like cheerleading squad for your art. Try to find people that actually inspire you, and not inspire you in a sense that like you wanna paint like them or you wanna be them, but the kind of people who actually make you wanna paint more. I think that's the most important thing. And make you feel good about the art that you are making and the direction that you are going. It's so easy to criticize others, it's much harder to be nice. It takes real effort sometimes. being just like overly critical about the art of others, that's real easy. Like anybody can do that. But finding people that inspire you and want you to be a better version of yourself, but do it in a way that is not like pushing down your current version where you are at. Because it takes time for all of us to grow, and we need that time, and we need to have the permission to be bad at anything that we start. Any new thing that you start, you are gonna be terrible at it for a while before you get any better. And it's important to have people who kind of like allow you to go through that without thinking that you're cringe or something. And I think that's something that everybody can do, like starting right now. The next thing that you see online, like rather than thinking that you need to be kind of some sort of art critic, you can just like something. Honestly, it's so easy and it doesn't really cost you anything. It actually kind of changes the way that you think when you can just be encouraging to somebody. If you're not put into a place of like you're expected to critique someone's work, like, don't do it. Like, critique is not helpful when it's done by someone who like doesn't understand how harmful critique can be at the wrong moment or from the wrong person. When someone asks you to critique their work, then I think you have more permission to do it. But always do it in a kind way. I always say that like to do critique, the most important thing is to communicate like good intent. That you're not there to put anybody down. You want to be good and kind, and that's really hard sometimes to put in text format. I really don't believe in text-based feedback myself at all, because I think it can easily do more harm than good. If you're in a work environment and you're giving feedback for creative work, like just schedule a Zoom call or just text them that like, can we talk on Zoom right now, or whatever meeting system that you are using, because it's so different when you can hear the tone of voice of somebody talking about your art. And then if you're giving feedback to someone else's work, communicate that where you are coming from, like what it is that you see and what do you think that the goals of that art piece are. Don't just assume, like clearly state that like in this artwork I see, or I think that you are trying to say that this one thing is important and you are trying to highlight this one area, because at least then the artist can know that like if this feedback is going to be relevant for the goals that they have set for their own artwork or not. In the art community, I think there's way too much of this assumption that an artist should kind of like just develop a tough skin and just take whatever kind of crap the art critique throws their way. We know that reading and understanding compositions is a skill. Why do we take it for granted that everybody should be able to like randomly be good at giving feedback? That seems like it makes no logical sense to me. At least for me, I used to be very bad at giving feedback, but it's a skill that I've been doing for so long that I've gotten better at it. And of course, I am still improving. I still have a lot to learn. But now I know that it has been a journey, that this is not just something that everybody is naturally born with, and then you are qualified to have your opinions on anyone's art, and you can assume that those opinions are going to be helpful for them to develop as artists. It doesn't quite work like that. Daniel is saying that he's a psychiatrist and he loves his work, but I'd gladly be an art therapist as well if money was not an issue. As for being seen, I'm just an amateur artist though. I struggle with the need to show my art. Only my husband, a few friends, and my therapist see them. I think that's interesting, but have you considered that you don't have to show your art under your own name? Like, you can kind of like experiment what it feels like to show your art to others, and then maybe later you can attach your own name to it. You can just invent an artist persona, and nobody needs to know that you are that person before you are comfortable and ready sharing this with them. I honestly feel like that could be a easier way to approach it than trying to have these difficult conversations with everybody before like becoming an artist out there in the world. And just try it on like a suit and see how it fits you. I think especially the beginning feels more scary as a concept rather than in reality. And once you put your art out there, like you really quickly notice that luckily people don't care about the successes and the failures of anyone's art as much as you do. So that kind of initial fear really quickly dissipates once you just like take the first leap and just publish your work. You don't have to put your name into it. Just put it out there, let it be there, and in today's like world of algorithms, we all know that the chances are like you get 5-10 views for that, let's say, Threads or Instagram post. And then the band-aid has been ripped off. The next piece of art is gonna be much easier to put out there. And I'm not saying this to scare anybody, to tell how difficult it is to like build online visibility, but I'm actually encouraging people to enjoy that phase of the journey when your art is kind of like unknown, that you get to be this kind of secret artist, because it's so freeing to work knowing that you don't have those sort of like consequences. As for me, like my business depends on me making and producing art, so it's really easy to go into the mindset that like it has to be good, it has to do somewhat well every now and then for my business to be able to sustain me. I need to be able to buy myself food and socks and take care of Vivi's expensive dog treatments and daycares and so on. All of that stuff comes added to it. But when you just experiment with publishing your own art for the first time, you don't have any of this baggage on you. And I would recommend anybody to like really enjoy that part of it. Because once your art gets visibility, like it can be just like one post that goes viral or something, and you have people that follow your art and see every post that you make, you're never gonna get that moment back. It's gone. Then you are seen in a completely different way. But I enjoyed the time when I started, after years, like posting art frequently again on Instagram. And some people think that like when I started posting art on Instagram, that is somehow like when my art career started. I had already been working professionally for over a decade at that point. But it was so nice that I didn't tell anybody, and I had very few likes and interactions on my posts, but they all felt like super meaningful. They still feel meaningful, but like in a different way. I really need to hurry up with this. I think there's some kind of an idea here, but I know that the sketching phase is not looking super cool right now. I'm sorry. In my defense, the previous one, I think that turned out pretty well. I'm not the type of person who gives up. I really need to hustle with this painting. I'm running out of time and it's like just starting to take shape. Kate is saying, I know it's not much, thank you for the super chat. Glad to see that somebody sees that they are there. Thank you for your consistency on making content. I truly enjoy your lives. Always try to pass by when I can support you. Thank you, Nate. I really appreciate that. I noticed that like sometimes when I'm painting live and it's like kind of a critical, it's almost like I'm trying to hide my own painting subconsciously. But honestly, now I see the shapes. Like, these are clearly the paw shapes on the ground as well. It's gonna be fine. I might need to render this quite a bit after the stream, but I'm gonna get to the idea. I still have time, right? And I'm fast. I don't know if I like said that. I know that I had that thought earlier, but the way that my brain just works during these live streams is that like one thought comes and then another appears when I look at the painting and then it's gone. But the thing that I wanted to say that I have learned from running is that positive self-talk really makes all the difference. And when you're feeling tired on a long run, just like telling yourself that like you're a machine, you can keep running, or you're a machine that has been turned on. I don't know, whatever mental trick that you can come up with that works for you, they really do work. And I think there's enough science on this that this is not just like my vibes on this topic, but it's like a generally known thing that positive self-talk does actually improve your endurance in those sort of situations. And the same goes for like feeling scared or feeling like imposter syndrome is coming. Just like telling yourself the opposite. Not just that like you're good enough, but like really put effort into the way that you talk to yourself, and it has a real difference in the outcomes that you get from that. I have the lamest self-motivational thing that I keep telling myself on a run. I say hyvä Mikko in Finnish, like good Mikko, like you can do this. It's like go Mikko, but in Finnish it means like you're good, that you're doing well. And I also have a little bit of these Tourette's that I sometimes keep repeating it to myself when I'm feeling like super stressed. So if I'm feeling super stressed or I have been around people all day, like for example right now when I've been teaching in school and I'm not used to that, like talking to other people all day in front of a class of students that are watching me. So often when the class is over and I'm going home, I notice that like all of my tics come out on the bus and I might repeat this like hyvä Mikko by myself many times. I also have like worse things that I say when I'm feeling stressed, but luckily like the lowest level of those tics, the easy mode, is still doesn't sound that bad. I mean, like I do also use curse words when the stress level is too high, then the tics kind of like level up to like a harder mode that is not safe for work. Often that happens after these live streams as well. I mean, I'm lucky in that it doesn't like make my life any more difficult in any way. It's very easy to live with compared to somebody who has like much worse symptoms. But for me, I can really easily kind of like not do it around people, and then when I'm by myself, like all the tics come out, and it's almost like this pressure that needs to come out of the system, and then it stops. In a way, I'm also kind of grateful for it, because ever since I had like a lot of problems like dealing with burnout and panic attacks and all of that stuff, it's really useful for me to notice in myself when I'm stressed And that's a very clear indication that like stuff is not like good right now. That if I'm saying these things out loud, clearly it means that I need to acknowledge that I need to kind of de-stress or let myself have some sort of like easier mode in life for a while, maybe not work as much or just take a break. I remember I used to be so worried about it. I used to Google that, is it normal to talk to yourself, or how can I stop talking to myself? And everything just told me that, like even the therapist told me that everybody does it a little bit, it's fine and it's not dangerous, so I'm not worried about it anymore. But I used to be. Okay, I still have 30 minutes, like that's plenty of time. It's just the thing that I'm now worried about is that I have so many elements that I need to make some priority decisions here. I can't be doing everything. I know this is a sensitive topic, but it scares me. What do you think about AI? Will it affect art? No, it won't affect art in any way. No, no, that's not what I think. AI images will continue existing on the internet, but I don't think it's art, and as such, like, does it affect art really? I mean, it can't introduce any new ideas into art either, so it's the people that will still be making the art. That's it. I know that some people are calling themselves AI artists, but I order takeout food sometimes, but I don't call myself a chef for if I choose that there's going to be a different topping on my pizza instead of another. Like, don't be silly now. And AI music radio stations already exist. There's plenty of that music out there, but nobody is using that or listening to that because people still want to have the purpose of art do what it has been doing for thousands of years. We still want the complexity of life and all of these conflicting different emotions that we have be explained to us through art and literature, like always. That has never changed. And that's why we have art, and that's why we'll continue having art always. I'm not worried about it. It doesn't really affect real concept art jobs either, since you can't copyright anything where AI has been used. So if you can't sell the product or copyright it, then what use is it in production? Anyway, about the positive reinforcement thing, like I do say, like, I'm not just saying this so that you would do it. I'm here, like, regardless of whether you do it or not. I am saying this positive reinforcement, like, out loud, consciously, because I know that it helps me when, for example, I'm doing a run. Tomorrow I'm gonna be having a run test in the fitness club that I am in. Or let's just say that it's a triathlon club. I've been trying to keep that as a secret for long enough. Everybody probably knows that already. So we're gonna have a run test, and I'm gonna be running as fast as I can for X amount of time. And I will be using all of my positive reinforcement techniques to get through it, because it's really long. I wish it was just something as simple as a Cooper's test, but much harder than that. But running is fun. Like, running is not anything like biking. I don't know if anybody here has done an FTP test, but I did an FTP test last Tuesday, and I'm so happy that I got a better score than last time. I'm gonna be honest that, like, I'm really slow at biking. So my FTP was below 200, and now it's exactly 200, which I know is super low for biking, but for me that was a huge improvement, and I'm so happy for it. I mean, just yesterday I came from bike practice and I looked at the statistics. I biked 10 kilometers more than I usually do, like 10 kilometers more in the same bike practice. just because I was using this new FTP now. And that means that I do a whole lot more distance during the same amount of time that I'm there. This is so cool. I mean, for me, the whole point of sports and like especially endurance sports is that like I want to prove myself that I can do hard things. It's not really to compete against anybody, because I know that I will never be the fastest anyway, pretty much at anything. So I'm just gonna enjoy it. That's why I always like running as well. Oh, I still have 20 minutes. Look at me not giving up and keeping like up with this whole thing, even though it seemed like pretty bleak at one moment, I'm not gonna lie. Sorry, I haven't been able to read the chat that much, because like honestly, I've been painting my ass off here. I saw Dutch angle. Yeah. In the previous live session that I did this morning on the membership, the web camera froze at one moment. So I just wanted to check that that is still working. Yes. So much faster to work on something like this when all the layers are gone. And then I can just focus on what the painting is about. Where do I need to paint what? Julian. How has everyone's like art journeys started this year? Is there an art challenge that you are doing, or is it just let's see what happens type of an art journey? Personally, I like having a plan and working towards a goal, and I like my plans to be like trackable. But I also understand that like sometimes life happens, so when I'm making plans, I'm always kind of making them with the intent of having some kind of flexibility in there when stuff happens, and stuff always does happen. So when life happens, that like all of my plans aren't built on like me being able to work on them, and then I might have secondary goals. Sometimes the goal that you set out for yourself in the beginning of the year, it might be that okay, this was not realistic, or that you realize that like this wasn't the plan or goal that I personally feel excited by anymore. But I have a secondary goal, so I'm gonna go for that now, because I've tried this and it's good that I now have this information that it's not a priority for me. If I wanted it more, then I would make it my priority. But this type of rhythm or pace for the goal doesn't make sense, given how much or little I actually care about the end result. Right now I'm working on my primary art goal while watching the live in the background. That sounds good. I'm also trying out a new work tracking system. I have used Forest application for years, but now I'm trying this theme game that is basically the same thing. It's just like way more elaborate. I know that there is this kind of cost of putting the Steam Deck on in the first place whenever I'm working, but honestly, like I'm so tied to my Steam Deck. You have no idea. I treat it like my Nintendo DS back in the day. Like there's no way I'm leaving the house without it. And if we still lived in the 90s, I assure you, I would put it in my pocket because I would have trousers with that big pockets. gonna switch this to hue or color, set a low opacity to it, and then use this through mask, invert it, and then paint some small streaks back in just to give it that hue variety. This same trick works on like any weathered building walls or rusted surfaces, like pretty much anything where you can want to see a lot of like subtle detail. Just adding this type of hue variety to it. Kind of gives any surface a little bit more importance. Thank you, Daniel, for visiting. And same for Liz. Miyaki is saying, I hope in the future I can publish some art and have a comic book or children's storybook because I always loved stories. I'd love to do a children's storybook as well. I think it's just like the whole publishing aspect of it, not really intimidating. It's so expensive to publish stuff. Like somehow people are able to do it though. I don't know. It would be great to publish some of my own stories one day. But I've noticed that I don't need anyone's like publishing company exploiting me in between for me to be able to do it. I can just write an entire story, for example, in the post that I'm publishing online. I know that some of you might think that like that's not the same thing as writing a story. I know, but still, it's kind of an interesting creative challenge. When I wrote that story during Christmas about my painting, I noticed that you also have to think about the amount of characters that you publish in a story like that, and that is honestly like a really good writing creative challenge as well, because it really makes you think about what information is important and how you kind of paint the story with words. So I'm thinking that this year maybe I could use some of my art posts as this sort of self-publishing like my own stories, like even if it's just in this like very short format, that the entire story is there. But that could be a way for me to kind of like try this storytelling, like more complex storytelling, if I like it, because I think I do. Every time I write stories like that, I find it like super fun. And I enjoy the editing process of like finding just the right tools to tell the story in a way that I want. I'm using light and blend mode to fill in some of these dark holes. I don't want to get rid of all of that texture. I think the texture itself is pretty nice. I just want to get rid of the value contrast. I don't think the messiness is a fault in this painting. It's just part of the way that it's done. And honestly, I like it. Okay, I have about 6 minutes still. This time went by really fast. But I'm like glad that I was able to kind of wrestle out a painting out of this, because it looked pretty rough at one point. This way it definitely makes more sense. Because this is someone's home, so that's why it's looking to the left. Minutes. We need a chimney. Three minutes. Now it feels like I have so much time. And I don't need all of this time. I have my bare mountain here already. Thank you for everybody who made it to this live stream and went through this adventure with me, even though I haven't been able to like read the chat as much as I usually do, just because of the time limit has been so tight. But honestly, without the time limit, I don't think I would have done this painting. I think it has allowed me to be this level of silly, which I honestly need. I I need a little bit of like more silliness in life. I think that's almost about it. Let's do a really quick green layer test. I forgot to record this, damn it. But I have recorded the morning session. That's something. I'm just the worst. I wanna tone down some of this texture a little bit here. Same this area. Okay, now I'm definitely over time. So I'll probably tweak this a little bit. Make sure that those like elements are in place. But that's it. That's the Bear Hill. I don't know what the name of this painting is. Probably something like that. Ooh, don't hate that. Maybe you could give it like that sort of like warm tint. I'm gonna keep it just in case. So, let's recap today's progress. So we started from this in the morning, in the first session. Here's the second hour, and then in the next session, in this one, we started with this. I kind of like that it got crazier. I mean, I think I kind of started with the safe ideas and then went a little bit more crazy at the end of these sessions. I don't know what that says about me, but I like that it's silly. And there are these sort of like brush rhythms on these hills that I really like. I just think that not necessarily that I need to add more detail to those like top half of elements, but I want to have that sort of same brush stroke line rhythms up there as well, especially in this one. I think just like having a pattern of like round brush strokes there will bring it back into the same look with the rest of the painting. Okay, thank you for joining this live stream session once more, and let me know how you feel about these like 1 hour art snack sessions. I think this was fun. And I did 4 paintings in one day. That's a lot. I'm gonna go and paint a little bit of Monster Hunter now. I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay. It says that you have fun with your creativity. Esther is saying. Yeah, I guess so. And that is true. I especially had fun with this last one. I think I kind of allowed myself to go a little bit crazy, which is fine. That's what art is all about. Okay. See you in the next one. Bye.